He carried the woman straight back to the manor and immediately summoned the physician to treat her wounds. The snow outside was heavy, but the fire within burned as warmly as a spring day, creating a stark contrast to the world beyond. Seraphina finally awoke, lying softly in my husband's arms, her beauty enhanced by the light reflecting off the snow outside. When our eyes met, hers were sharp and mocking. "The general may be able to leave without a care, but what shall do?" she asked, struggling to lift her head. Then, her eyes filled with tears as she quickly removed her clothing, exposing her pale shoulder where a tattoo was clearly visible. It was the name Adrian. "In the past, you pitied me for my tragic fate and personally marked me with your name, promising me a lifetime of protection. Do you still remember that promise, General?" Adrian finally lost his composure, pressing her head against his chest, his voice trembling. "Why are you doing this to me, Seraphina? Do you know how much you make my heart ache?" Soon, the physician arrived and found that Seraphina's body had been weakened by the harsh winter chill, making her incapable of bearing children. It turned out that, to perform that dance for Adrian, she had taken a dangerous potion. This potion gave her the grace of a swan and a snow-like beauty, but the musk it contained had come at the cost of her reproductive function. Barely able to speak, Seraphina rasped, "Though I was surrounded by courtesans, my heart has always been yours, General. I could never belong to another. When my madame compelled me to take another client, I fled, choosing to die at your doorstep rather than betray my devotion to you." "Seraphina, enough," Adrian said, turning his head away, though the redness at the corners of his eyes was unmistakable. As expected, he pulled me outside, where the wind and snow howled around us. In our 3 years of marriage, we had never faced each other in silence like this. Finally, he broke the stillness with a strained voice. "Alara, this is a serious matter. I can't just turn my back on her." "Adrian, we should part ways," I said calmly. "That's impossible," he interrupted me quickly. I smiled faintly. It was no to all. The same general who vowed never to forsake me at our wedding banquet just days ago has brought a courtesan into our home and marked her with his own name. Do you want me to be the laughingstock of all of Stonehaven? If you can't keep your promises, then let's end this marriage and go our separate ways. I turned to leave, but Adrian's hand clamped down on my sleeve. The man who had never faltered in the presence of the king now stumbled over his words. "Alara, please, believe me. I only took her in out of pity. My heart is only for you." I cut him off sharply. "How many women have you said these words to?" Seeing that I remained unmoved, he grew angry. "Alara Stonemore, there is no divorce between us. Only death can part us. It seems I've spoiled you too much, making you forget that a wife must obey her husband." With that, he stormed back inside, convinced I would never leave him, convinced I would eventually accept this, as other women did, and share him with another. Suddenly, I felt a deep sadness. How much better it would be if I had never loved Adrian, never cherished those moments of romance. The bitterness of his betrayal melted away like a snowflake on my fingertip. I calmly made a decision and instructed my maid, Liana, to procure 2 items for me. One, a potion to terminate the pregnancy, and the other, a concoction to ensure Adrian would never father a child again. Adrian placed Seraphina in the West Wing, granting her no title but assigning 2 maids to attend to her, making her an exceptional presence in the manor. Meanwhile, I remained secluded, quietly executing my plan as the signs of my pregnancy became more apparent. One day, as I was admiring the flowers in the garden, someone I thought I'd never interact with again approached me. She looked well cared for, her complexion radiant as she smiled and said, "Sister, how have you enjoyed these past 3 years, keeping my husband to yourself?" I didn't want to engage with her, but Seraphina sighed and stepped back a few paces, her delicate steps as light as a whisper. "But now I've returned, so isn't it time for you to step aside?" Before I could respond, she turned on her heel, a satisfied smile playing on her lips. Moments later, the sharp sound of shattering ice echoed through the garden as the pond's surface gave way beneath her. Seraphina's screams pierced the air as she floundered in the freezing water. She accused me of pushing her, a ludicrous, transparent scheme that once would have made me scoff at its sheer amateurishness. But Adrian, blinded by his guilt and her theatrics, believed her without hesitation. When he came to confront me, I remained calm and said, "I didn't do it." He frowned, finally relaxing his clenched fists. "Very well, I believe you." Just then, a servant rushed in. General, Lady Seraphina has taken a sudden fever and is now unconscious. Once again, he left me to rush to her side and never return.